Hello there, here's John Franquez, and we are in our presidential series. Next president, number 9, Martin Van Buren. My mistake, number 8, 8th president of the United States, Martin Van Buren. Known as Old Kinderhook. He was from Kinderhook, New York. The nickname Old Kinderhook, if you're from Kinderhook, you're an okay person. Okay, Old Kinderhook. That is where the term okay came from. Now, Martin Van Buren is the president who's beginning a series of mediocre or unsuccessful presidencies. Either they were not there very long enough or they were very incompetent and so forth. Why is that? I don't know. In Martin Van Buren's case, Martin Van Buren was a master politician. And a lot of these guys, let's just say that to become president, to reach that level, you have to have some skills. Martin Van Buren was very, very skilled. And in fact, he formed what is today the Democratic Party. Great organizer, and some say he wanted to be a judge instead of president. In that he might have been more successful behind closed doors. So what was wrong? Why was he unsuccessful? Well, part of the problem was that after Andrew Jackson, popular Andrew Jackson's economic policy brought a depression into the country. And Martin Van Buren had very, very few tools that he could use to fight that. So he used, tariffs, but basically he wanted the things to like ride itself out to see if the economy would fix itself. That didn't work. He did a few moves back in 1840 that did pass, it did help a little. By that point, it was too late to get him reelected. He was too political. A president needs to have kind of a vision and a plan, and what exactly does he want to do? Martin Van Buren didn't have that. He had a couple of ideas, but basically he'd like to keep the status quo and keep everybody happy and, quote, keep the country together and so on. But he made very, very few bold moves. Coincidentally, I was watching the movie Amistad the other day. The movie Amistad is about some Africans that were captured and brought over to the Caribbean as slaves. They rebelled on the ship called the Amistad, a slave ship. They rebelled, took their Spanish captains captive, killed a few people, ended up in the United States, and there was a trial. Martin Van Buren was the president, and he comes out in the movie as not quite knowing what to do, basically didn't want to do anything. Some of the southern states said, we want these Africans tried as murderers for killing those people, on that ship. I guess not to give the slaves in the United States any ideas. The whole issue became national debate. Martin Van Buren did not want to displease the South or the North. So what did he do? Well, because this whole issue began in Spain, and it was a Spanish ship, he spoke to the Secretary of State and the Spanish ambassador and was trying to push to make a diplomatic resolution to the matter and let Spain deal with these Africans. Basically, he didn't want to rock the boat. He didn't want to make any moves. Martin Van Buren, I mentioned he was born in Kinderhook, New York. He was also of Dutch descent. In fact, English was his second language. He grew up speaking Dutch. Well, actually, I should say when he was born and a little boy, he spoke Dutch. He acquired some money, and to give you another illustration of how Martin Van Buren's brain is, he had slaves, even though later he believed the slave was immoral. He had a slave, and one of his slaves named Tom escaped. And Tom escaped, and Martin Van Buren wanted to give the appearance of the slaveholder. He wanted to have his slave back. So he put out a reward, but he said that his slave Tom had to be captured without violence, otherwise he wouldn't pay. So some of these slave seekers or bounty hunters, whatever they are, say, well, hey, there's no guarantee of that, I'm not going to go for it. A couple of years later, slavery was illegal in New York anyway, so Tom remained free, which is probably what Martin Van Buren wanted. So you can say, well, that was pretty skilled that he did that. But if you notice, he didn't take any stand. Same way he didn't take a stand during the Amistad case. In Congress one time, there was a man who made an impassioned speech on an issue. And when he was done, everybody was waiting for Martin Van Buren's response. Martin Van Buren didn't want to decide one way or the other. So all he did was stand up, go up to the man who spent a long time speaking and said, hey man, you got a little bit of snuff? It's kind of like a tobacco substance, you sniff it in, whatever. He got some snuff and he walked out. He didn't say a word. He kind of diffused the situation, take the passion out of that guy's speech, but he didn't say anything. And you kind of get the idea that he didn't want to rock the boat one way or the other. Anyway, as president, he made one bold move. I mentioned that he, by this point, believed that slavery was immoral, but he said he was not going to take any measures to fight slavery one way or the other. He wasn't going to do anything. He thought it was unconstitutional to try to emancipate the slaves. But on a personal level, he, by that point, found slavery immoral. People wanted to admit Texas into the United States. Texas itself, the settlers of Texas wanted to and requested to become part of the United States. And he said no. Martin Van Buren finally made a bold move and said no. He did not want to admit Texas as a slave state. Thinking back on the Missouri Compromise that we spoke about a few videos ago, the Missouri Compromise was when Missouri was admitted to the United States as a slave state, while Maine was admitted as a free state at the same time, to keep things, I guess you could say, even. They also picked a latitude, and anything below that latitude would be slave, anything above that latitude would be free. When Texas was going to be admitted, it would have been a slave state. Martin Van Buren was very unpopular, and I think part of it is because of his lack of vision and lack of initiative. He tried hard to become reelected and didn't. And his nickname as Martin Van Buren, residing over a 5-year depression that began with Andrew Jackson, they started calling him Martin Van Ruin, and that kind of stuck to him. Martin Van Buren said at one point that history would vindicate him. And this is back in the late 1830s. Well, it's 2015, and maybe we need a little bit more time. In the meantime, that's it for Martin Van Buren. I got nothing else to add to that. So we're going to go on to our next segment, William Henry Harrison, President number 9. And listen to it because there's something very interesting in reference to the presidency of William Henry Harrison. We're going to get to that in our next video, but in the meantime, comment below, subscribe. This is John Franquez.